This is our last section in 4.2, and we're going to use ratio rates to make comparisons. So I want you to really understand the important thing here. The math's really simple, but it's just the understanding that absolute numbers are not used to make comparisons. We use ratio and rates to make comparisons. So the last example here of why rates are so useful. They allow us to make comparisons. So it wouldn't make sense to compare the number of absolute births, that's the number of actual births in the United States, which was over 4 million in 2008, to England, which was under 1,781,000 in 2008, or Mexico, which was 2,279,000, because the overall populations are not the same. This again it illustrates the need for context. Births rise along with the population. Only looking at the rate can we get an accurate read on which country women are having more babies. So in which country are women having more babies? Just because the United States had the most babies, they also have, if you look down here, the most people. There's the number of people. So we're going to make comparisons. We have the number of babies and we have the number of people. And we're going to look at the birth rates per 1,000 people in the population. So here's the United States. We set up our ratio. Births to population equals births to 1,000, which 1,000 in the population. Cross multiply and divide. And for the United States, we get 12.4. That means, but it's 12.4 over 1,000. So that means there were 12.4 births per 1,000 women in the population. In England, set up the ratio again, births to population, some number over 1,000. And in England, you cross multiply and divide, and we get that there were 12.0 births per 1,000 women in the population. People. That includes men. That's just 1,000 people. Even though obviously men don't have babies. At least not that I know of. Now in Mexico, we have births per population, and we want to scale that to here. So in Mexico, there's 18.1. Cross multiply and divide. So Mexico had 18.1 births per 1,000 people in the population. So if you look at these three countries, Mexico has the most births per person in the population, whereas the United States was 12.4 and a little bit less. England is 12.0. So that's how you can make comparisons. So this one we're going to do ourselves. It's looking at how safe are the following colleges. We're going to compute rates per 10,000 to allow for a comparison of crime rates. So first we're going to start. You decided to transfer to a college and narrow the list to 5 schools. And one of your considerations is safety. Now what does safety mean? Well, we're going to look at what safety means in terms of the FBI. How they consider safety. They consider safety by lack of violent crime. Violent crimes is these things: murder, non-negligent manslaughter, rape, robbery, those things. So that's how we're going to define violent crimes. We want to find our safest school that has the least amount of violent crimes. So here is a list of the schools we're looking at. And here's the number of violent crimes. So we're just looking at this list and we say, well, Penn State's the most violent, Tennessee State's the least violent, but you can't do that because the number of students in each school is different. These are the raw numbers. To make a comparison, to ask the question, which is the least violent school in terms of violent crimes, we have to make a rate. So what we want to do is basically fill in this chart here. Michigan State, here's the violent crimes, here's the total number of students, and we're going to put in rates here. Rates per 10,000 students. So we'll do Michigan State, and then I'll fill in these. So for Michigan State, we had 27 violent crimes for 50,081 students. And we need to find out basically X violent crimes for 10,000 students. So we set up our proportion, and we're going to cross multiply and divide. And you should be able to do that by now. It's not a big deal, right? 50,081 times X equals 27 times 10,000. Divide both sides by 50,081. And we're going to get, computing the rate per 10,000 students, we can see 5.39 violent crimes at Michigan State per 10,000 students. So we'll put that right here. Now I'm just going to hit pause and then put the rest of these in, and we'll talk about it a little bit. So like I said, calculated the rates, and now we can make the comparison about which school has the most violent crimes. And we can see that clearly it's the University of Texas in Houston. While it didn't show up here under the absolute numbers, it certainly shows up here under the rate. That's why we use rate and ratios for comparison, not absolute numbers. And now we have our group work, which I'll put in a separate file.